This is Gary Atensi with CNTV, and today we're in Denver, Colorado. We're at BitbyBitAnalytics. I'm here with the owner and founder of the company, a year and a half in providing consulting company in analysis of networks out there. What brought you and got you involved in this type of industry, first of all?
In the military and had an aptitude for networking. And then when I came out of the military, telecommunications was just starting to explode at that time. And so I got into a small company who was providing services and then moved my way onto the last company that I worked for. And I've been doing a lot of different activities in telecommunications since.
Well, folks, we're talking about the lifeline out there for any company anymore. We're talking about the way communication is going back and forth. Why do you find it more relevant today, Mark, than possibly even 15, 20 years ago?
The integration of everything and how fast it's moving has made it so much more difficult for people to really keep up with.
Let me just take a look at some of the options out there that companies have out there. Option one, they monitor themselves. They've got somebody basically in-house that basically wants to try to do this. Seems like it's pretty labor intensive, takes a lot of time, quite a bit of equipment. Tell me, is that what you're finding?
Yes, and some of the smaller companies don't really have that time available to work on it, and some of the equipment is really expensive to have to put into place.
You are a certified engineer. We've got a lot of background on this. Give me an example of some of the equipment and the analysis that you have.
I have protocol analyzers that I use in order to gather the data that's required to look at what's going on with the network, whether it's at the application layer or at the network layer, to see if there's a problem going on or to tell you what kind of utilization you have with it. And then I also use the equipment that may be on site that the customers don't necessarily utilize as well.
Okay, so some of the stuff is actually set up right at the interface to see what's going on there, but a lot of times you go in there and basically do an analysis for them. And I imagine analysis is very important because of the fact you're not only showing them what's presently going on, but basically what could be around the bend and coming up in the future.
Exactly. You want to prepare for your future needs, and it's best to understand exactly what's going on with your network first in order to maintain your users' satisfaction, and then also to plan for the future of new applications or site.
Mark, basically a lot of ways that information is communicating not only from the main place but to remote offices, that type of thing. Are you covering the full gamut? We're talking about LANs, WANs, and everything in between.
Exactly, yes. We can hook up on the LAN side as well as on the WAN side and do a comparative analysis from end to end or just across a piece of equipment at a site to see what's going on with the data flow.
Excellent. And so that's got to be great for the end consumer out there, helping them, and you're not in the middle of the whole industry with the blame game.
Exactly. We act as a customer advocate so that they can get beyond the problems that they're having with their vendors, and as an independent viewpoint, we can tell them exactly what's going on without any kind of pressure from our company.
Speaking of applications, are there a lot out there that create more of a burden on the network, utilizing more bandwidth?
Yes, people who go out and use YouTube or are on Facebook tend to put a burden and drain on the network because of the amount of bandwidth that they use. And then voice over IP is very needy for bandwidth, so if you don't have it set up properly, then your users are going to complain.
When a client comes together with you, a lot of times can they sit down and go through a consultation with you? Maybe they're thinking about bringing on an application and they want to know how hungry that application is. Are you able to analyze that with them and take them into the future?
Yes, we can go through and look at the present network. We'll consult with them and discuss what exactly their plans are, how they can be prepared, and then we'll put the equipment in, analyze the network, tell them what's going on. If they have the application already, we can do a pre-test before they deploy it across their platform.
Wonderful. So we're talking about some analytical tools out there that you put right at the interface, and that's going to kick out some reports. Tell me, in what degree of reports are we talking about?
Well, we can give you graphical output, or we can do a spreadsheet, and we can do up to 10-second granularity, which is a lot more refined than a lot of the equipment that you're going to get out there installed in networks.
Wonderful. What are some of the symptoms out there that basically people may be seeing that possibly they need some fault isolation from your company?
If they're seeing slow response times, or their users are complaining of one-way audio, say on their voice over IP application, or they're just seeing a lot of different minor things that are going on, they can't understand why it's happening.
So people getting timeouts out there, stuff like that is probably a big problem. And I imagine at that point, if they do have people inside, it becomes the blame game. I mean, some guys start blaming the network, then you're blaming the server. You come along as an independent, basically with an independent voice to tell them what's really going on.
Exactly. Finger pointing is a major problem when you're talking about industry issues, because the vendors will say, you know, it's working here fine, but it must be over there. And we've come in a lot of times and said, you know, here's the actual issue. We help them identify the root cause and then go down and resolve the issue with the vendors themselves, as opposed to the customer just going back and saying, well, he says it's their problem. I actually point it out and work with them to resolve it.
Excellent. Folks, their website is at the bottom of the screen right there. What you're going to find is basically their contact information there. You can get in touch here with Mark on LinkedIn as well. And you know what? Basically, it'll start out with a consultation, find out what your needs are and what they can come in and do for you. And do understand, for small companies out there, basically, you've got the whole situation right here outside. You don't have to spend the time, nor the money, the manpower, or the equipment in place. And at the end of the day, Mark will be able to analyze that with you, with your company, and find out what your needs are for the future. Go to their website there. You'll see an example of some of the reports they're able to give there as far as the graphs and that type of thing. Mark, somebody out there who thinks their company is in a need of your type of service, what would you tell them?
Contact us today.
You got it. Simple as that, folks. This is Gary Atencia with CNTV. And if you don't know, now you know.